Genius Production.
Started late last night.
Yo, welcome to episode 2 of the Karaha Fantasy Basketball League podcast. We got Freddie, my co-host, and a very special guest, AJ, aka Baby J, aka the Mormon God. Let's go, let's get it. We're excited for season 2. He's wearing a dope singlet. I don't know why he's wearing a mask. He's got his ring because he's won a championship. We're excited to have you on today, AJ. And
thank you.
Let's just crack right into it. So the big topic this year is around the 2 additions to our fantasy league. Traditionally, we've had 10. Now it's jumping to a 12-man league. What's your thoughts on that? How does it affect your strategy coming up this year?
Yeah, let me guess it's safe to remove these now. So it's a unique league now, eh? I mean, it's definitely, you have to change your strategy. I mean, everyone else has to do the same. So we're all coming into this quite blindly. I think the new 2 members probably are less advantaged than the rest of us because we've been consistently playing the last few seasons. So I'm not worried about those 2. But I am worried about, everyone on this call. Obviously, Zach. David, you've come a long way, man. Twice in a row coming into the playoffs, whereas before that you had like massive hiatus.
I wonder why. Big controversy and conspiracy.
Yeah. So
you're
proving yourself to be quite a contender. I'll give you that. But I'm not too worried about you, if I'm being completely honest. Not at this stage yet.
It's quite interesting because I beat you twice last year, and I beat you in the playoffs for the $100. So you should be worried about me. Anyway, who are you worried about?
That doesn't mean anything. But this is all that matters, bro. Until you have one of these, talk to me, mate.
Who are you worried about then this year? You talked about Zach. Who would you put in your top 4 right now heading into the season?
It's definitely Zach, obviously. If you look at our record, we had probably arguably the best battles that this league has ever seen. The fans were definitely the fan favorites. We're the ones that get televised on Christmas Day. No one else does. So that in itself tells you all that you need to know. But I think the second one, I used to be worried about Dre, but obviously after last season, I am not worried about that fool. As soon as I took Drummond, he was off my radar. Still off my radar.
He's doing a lot of mock drafts though now. That could be worrying.
I bet he is. I expect him to, if we were to quantify everyone's mock draft counts, I expect him to have over 1,000, or at least have the most out of everyone. But anyway, to answer your question, the top 4, without disrespecting any of the other GMs out there, obviously Zach, David, you're on that list because you always seem to be drafting some of those good players. But then the other 2, I don't know, because everyone else is kind of like, they're good and not good, but they're good. They're kind of like all on that same level of, if we were to rank it by tiers, Zach is in his own tier, arguably, and the next would be David. And who would join David would probably be like someone like maybe, Lenny and John, essentially. Kerr's one of those, he's an interesting one. Kerr's always had a consistently good team, but he's always been like kind of fighting for the playoff life, if that makes sense. So he's kind of like one that you don't really worry about.
Kidder just doesn't do much analysis. Like, he picks his team, he'll look at some players, but and we'll get into how deep you get into your analysis, because some players in our fantasy league go pretty crazy on it. Like, I think John came in with like 10 pieces of paper in the last draft, or so did Zach. But so those are the players you're worried about. Who would you say you're least worried about this year? You did mention Andre. So who would you say right now is the worst fantasy basketball player in the league?
Yeah, it's a tough one, eh? I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm not too worried about the Jews that much. Although Fuchs did beat me in the season. But then, and the reason why I don't fear him, even though he beat me, he gave me my first loss last season, obviously before I played Jew. But essentially I was on this winning streak and he beat me. I beat Zach and everything. But then he blows up his team after he beats me. And that's kind of
Yeah,
been
that's
Farrell's
crazy.
pattern. Is like when he keeps winning, he keeps having to adjust his team. I don't know why. And then obviously him not playing in the first day of the playoffs. Like I'm not worried because something else will come up with Fuge in Fuge's personal life that will get in the way of him managing his team. He's got something
Mhm.
going on in his personal life that he just can't seem to manage properly. So that's why I'm
He
not
can't
worried
do
about
two
him.
things at once, you reckon?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. So I'm not worried about him.
What about like Khan and George? I mean, George is a former winner. He had a down year last year, but I can't see him having 2 bad years in a row. Khan was getting back into the ropes of swinging things with our fantasy format last year. He's got the number 1 pick. Like, are they 2 people that are on the radar for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like, kind of say yes just because, but I also don't want to say no out of respect for them. They're good GMs, but if I'm being completely honest, the only one I'm really looking out for is Zach.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because everything that I do is around. He's kind of like my benchmark essentially, because
Mhm.
every year he actually consistently drafts a very good team. Every year, like
Is,
if you look at the history of our league, he's always got arguably one of the top 3 teams that have been drafted, and he does good with trades. I'm one of his victims 2 seasons
Yeah,
ago.
that was one of the questions I was going to ask you.
that
Like,
was crazy.
how does he get a good trade out of you every single year? Like consistently each year, he robbed you.
I think last year AJ really grew from that big mistake that he made because Zach is, he will push, he will twist it. He's good at fantasy, so he'll make it act like it's a good trade for you. And AJ is a really gullible person. He's a man of values. And if someone's telling him that it's good for him, AJ will say, okay, maybe it is. But yeah, it's quite different to Khan, who will just send you a trade for 2 slots and then not even just because he continue a trade. It's a bit silly. But yeah, that's quite interesting. I'd probably, yeah. So worst players, you're only worried about Zach. Is Andrea the worst player going into the season this year?
I mean, I think the whole league would agree that he has to be because he essentially had the worst season record in season and draft in the history of all fantasy leagues, especially in this league, certainly. Especially for someone who's consistently been in the playoffs every year, it was just one of those ones where, like, okay, I think something happened in his personal life, kind of similar to what Fuge, but we're not going to get that out of him, and that's fine. That's all good. But
Andre got shit at fantasy when he met Rachel. He's turned into a normal person now. I think he was at some sort of party. I don't know, what, baby shower or something that he had to go to.
You had to rush out of there real quick. So he quickly
Andre
pushed.
never used to do normal things like that. He probably,
he pushed
he's
Whiteside at 40.
Person. Yeah, his
Bird at 50.
But I would say, out of all fantasy leagues
so
ever,
bad.
that would have to be the worst first round pick ever. He threw $200 down the drain. That's just the facts.
100%. And
yes, the next question I wanted to ask was, for the All-Star game, so you're wearing that beautiful jersey there. Tell us a little bit about that experience, and then after that, it would be cool for you to rank the 12 players. And if you were to rank the 12 players,
like your like mock draft.
Your mock draft for the All-Star game. So tell us a little bit about the experience.
I see.
And then in the All-Star game, if you could rank the 12 players in the fantasy team.
But yeah, like give us a brief, like how were you feeling for last year's game? Like a little bit about the game.
Yeah, so I love the format. I love the, obviously thanks to you guys for organizing it, especially Lenny driving it. So I think that was a good format and good for the league to excite the league, especially a good excuse for all of us to get together. So I took that All-Star game as kind of like me sussing out these fellow GMs for next season and just figuring out their weaknesses and strengths and how their mind works, essentially. But no, that actually, to be honest, the All-Star game was mint. I did quite enjoy it. I do think David was the MVP, 100%. There's no doubt about that. It was a clear favourite. But if there was a Defensive Player of the Game award, that's hands down me, essentially. The stats prove it as well. The scoreboards, even the stuff that doesn't come up on the score sheet, like the hustle stats, the deflecting, altering of the shots. My plus minus score was definitely high up there. My steals, I'm pretty sure.
Parker.
Everyone plays
Jay.
the full game, so everyone on our team's got the same plus minus. But
True that.
We had a sub.
Do you think? So you think your defense was better than Kere's? Because when Kere was in the paint, no one in our team was going up. Do you think you affected the game more than he did?
I think so, yeah, because I forced more turnovers on the other team, which gave us more positions, essentially. And it gave us more positions to get the ball in your hands to offensively get those buckets, essentially. I got heaps of assists as well. I didn't rack up on the points because I didn't need to. We had a scorer, which was you, and we had outside shooters like Lenny and Zach. So I knew my role was like, okay, well, I'm a point guard. I don't need to score. I mean, I score if I have to. And there were a few times where I got some easy layups, but my role was to get the ball into the hands of those who are open or those who are cutting. Also, so that gave me the assist. And also on the defensive end, hey, I don't think they have any pure point guards. It was meant to be John and Khan, but if I get in their heads, crack them down, then I basically destroyed their kind of momentum and the ball not going through their point guard. It's going to throw the whole play off. And so that is what my mentality going into the game was. Is okay, well, I got speed, defense, and I think that's the impact I had on the defensive end.
Do you think
I'll probably the
fan in John's head?
I think I got in their head a little bit. No doubt about it. I mean, how many points they score on me? Like 2. I know John got that nice little reverse layup, but that was the time when I wasn't marking him. I think we were at zone D. But
are you going to take Baby J first again, David?
I don't know. I think I probably have to. Like last year, it was like an easy number 1 pick. I said it from the start. It was like a Zion Williamson pick, like it was quite clear cut. But I would say like right now I probably have to, but I haven't done much thinking. Like I really thought about my team, and I knew the way Kere was going to draft, and it was really predictable, and so I knew who I was going to get. And AJ was key to that. But next year, who knows?
So you
right now,
might
I'm going
take
to say
the team
yes.
in a different direction, or
right now I'm going to say yes. But who knows? Depends how angry I get at AJ during this on the opinionated chat. If he keeps talking about Donald Trump, I might have to not draft him. Might not have to not draft him and get buckets on him. But it'll be different. It'll be different playing against AJ because on the defense, like he can pick me up early, and then I'll have to worry about Kere down low. So it's quite different. I'll have to try to get a different spot, and he'll be fit too. Rank the 12 players from 1 to 12 in AJ. It'd be good to get your thoughts on because those middle grounds is tough. And don't just put Team Dyer in because you're trying to please Lenny or anything. Just if you were drafting
straight from the heart,
straight from the heart, 1 through 12 on, because you got to add Boyan and Renz. I've never seen Renz play before, but
first I'll probably need a profile on Renz first. Because I have never seen him play.
Renz is like 6'2", and he's
6'2", and he plays a little bit.
He's like a shooter. He can shoot a bit on the outside, and he's like a good defensive player, long arms and that.
Where would you put him, Lenny? So maybe just see where Lenny would put him.
On my first mock draft, I think I had him at 4. He was like, I think I had AJ 1, Dre 2, Zach 3, John 4, and then I had Renz at 5. So maybe Renz 4 or 5 around there somewhere for me.
So yeah, give us your thoughts, AJ.
So when you say 12, am I including?
It'll be 10. It'll be 10 because you've got captains.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's definitely a toss-up between. Well, certainly the top 4, in my opinion, is obviously myself, Jay, Zach. That fourth one, probably John or Lenny, essentially. But number first, I mean, okay, it's me, essentially. Because, and the reason why I say this in my defense, because I know when Jay gets on the podcast, Jay's second for me. If Jay gets on the podcast, he's obviously going to be up in arms about this, because he certainly was when I was first picked, and he still was even after we annihilated that team. So he's in denial. But the reason why is because, well, one, I bring speed. I also bring defense, hustle. I mean, also, like I said, I'm defensive player of the game. Depending on who I'm with, if I'm with Kerr or David, it's like almost a GG essentially, because you got, if it's me and Kerr, that's easy, Stockton Malone kind of thing, or Yao Ming and Trace McGrady. But if it's me and David, then it's
you are not Team Mac.
Okay, maybe not Team Mac, but Steve. What's the other point guard? But anyways, you get the gist of what I'm saying. Is that you team up one of the best point guards in the league with arguably the best center or the best power forward. It can go either ways. If we swap me and John out or someone, I guarantee Team Dyer ain't going to 4-2. And the reason why I say that is this is just based on last season. I'm sure players are going to train and get better, but right now it's me. Then Dre, just because he's still got that height, got that shot on the outside, so you have to guard him out, stretches the floor. Zach third, just because he also brings that height. He's similar to Dre. Got a nice mid-range. Fourth, I'll probably have to go Lenny actually, just because. No disrespect to John. Yeah, Lenny got the sharp shooter, but fitness proved key in the All-Star game. So having another runner, getting back on D, on offense, getting to the open floor, open shots. Our team was just beautiful, if you think about it. But there's just fluidity of our team. I mean, look at that. There's 3 players from Team Dye in the top 4. Then after that, then it'll be John. Then after that, it gets a bit tricky. Probably has to be Renz, then B, Fuge, then Khan, then George. Sorry, George. I know you hit those 2 clutch shots, but
and then foul.
But yeah, that's it. Fuge, I got Fuge at number, what was it, 7?
Oh yeah, so that's above George
Khan and George.
Khan and George.
Sorry, so that's 8. Sorry, not 7.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you put B?
Yep. I'll put B after Renz.
So B's not B's not going to go top 4.
Nah, just because based on I've seen him play, I've played with him, but based on his current status in terms of his health.
What about if he can be fit before? If he can get back to some kind of fitness?
I don't think he can.
Till then, is his body just not up to the? Will he get injured again if he tries to get fit again, or?
Well,
because he's got that mindset, he's the greatest player on the planet.
The mindset. I know he does have that mindset. He's the greatest player on the planet. The thing is, B instantly would think that he's the best player, and if he plays on any team, that they are going to win. Now, if B thinks he's captain, then he probably wouldn't draft me or draft Dre, and then Kidder would draft me. B would probably still think that he's going to win, but that's just his mindset, and it's a good mindset. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. It's just far from reality. And with B, can he get his health right? Maybe. If we really rack him up, he probably will. And he just needs to switch, and he'll go crazy. But I think his knees are too ruined. Literally, he can play for 5 minutes right now.
Have you seen what he looks like at the moment? Is he I haven't seen any pictures. Is he looking real massive, or?
So in terms of physical fitness, he'll be okay. But he can't run for that long. It's just too painful.
Damn.
Yeah.
I guess to answer your question, the original question too, Lenny, if he was fit like he was back in the day, yeah, I guess he would be top 4.
Okay.
Because of that mindset.
Where would you put him? Would you put him over Dre?
See, if we're in our primes, I wouldn't be first pick. probably it would be Dre and Zach first pick, right? If we're all in our
Really?
primes.
I wouldn't say so. I would say.
Well, I'm coming from.
on the thing.
Well, I guess if you.
The thing with Andre is that he's a little bit less fit, but Andre in his prime is the same player that he was in our All-Star game, except he was a little bit faster and he shot probably 7 or 8% better. And he still shot pretty well. He probably shot like 40% from the field, which was probably the third highest on the day. You were probably shot high because you didn't take that many shots. But yeah, I would say Andre's
I guess it
prime
depends
is
on
much better.
I guess if
the
you're
thing I'm just
drafting,
thinking- Yeah,
Yeah, I was saying
doesn't-
like I guess I would still be first pick because if you're drafting and you're like, if you want a solid point guard,
Mhm.
I am the first pick for a solid point guard. Yeah,
Wonder-
I'll pick myself over B.
I would
the
pick you over
primes.
B, but B would say that he'll be a better player than you in his prime.
Of course.
But B.
So I
B-
guess that's why I had Dre first because you can't go wrong with point guards because you got B or AJ to pick from. So if you pick
Mhm.
one, another person will
you
get
get
the
the
other.
other
It's
one.
a
Yeah,
safe
that's
bet.
true.
That's why I say
That's
Jay
true.
is first essentially because
Yeah,
Jay
'cause
would
then
be
you're
the
gonna get a
outlier
solid-
that you want in a
yeah.
team. Yeah,
Yeah,
because then essentially you got two twin
true.
towers arguably. I know
Mhm.
Zach can offset that as well, but
So let's say
Yeah,
you join you and Kide. So say Kide gets first pick, he takes you. Then I take Andre and Zach. Then Kide will have the next two, so he'd probably go Renz. Or maybe I would take Andre and Renz then, even though I haven't seen him play. And then you would get Zach, Lenny. Then I'd have Khan George or George Farrell. I'll probably go Khan George. And
you wouldn't get B
Actually, I'd go B.
or
Khan.
John.
No, I'd get. I'll go B. John, and then you would have Khan.
Khan and George then, or Fuge.
Yeah, Khan and Fuge, and then we have George. So then that means in my team I would have me, Dre Renz, John B, and like Farrell or George, and you would have you, Gede, Lenny, Zach, then like Khan, George, Farrell. Who would win?
That's a tough one, eh? I feel like that's quite even, eh?
Because I would say
I think that's quite even.
after the fourth or fifth pick, it drops off, and we would have more top 4 players. We would have 3 top 4 players.
And
That
fitness is
first pick.
huge in those games, as we saw last year. Like our team
like,
didn't even really
and
need a
I
break.
think, yeah, inside it'll be me, me, Dre, and Renz, all 6'2". I'm 6'1". And then inside you'd have Kid and Zach, and then the next biggest would be George. That'd be an interesting battle. But would you think you'd win?
I think we win only based on the fact that if B is still in this condition that he is now, just not being able to run, that would give us a slight advantage because you still don't really have a solid point guard essentially. That's no disrespect to John. I feel like John's gonna take this episode and run with it. You know,
I think
Which is
John will
good.
have a bounce back game for sure. I reckon this year.
Well, the thing is, John in high school was a good basketball player. It's just that
he's still good.
10 years removed from high school, and he's just unfit. So we'll talk.
He's
a little
definitely a
bit
better
about,
shooter on the point guard position.
Yeah, and needs to get some shots beforehand. But let's talk a little bit about you and how you play fantasy, AJ. What can you talk a little bit about your preparation you do each week or before the draft? And what are you looking at? What are you looking at when you're thinking about slots? How far ahead do you prepare? Are you looking at the next week? Are you looking 2 weeks in advance? What schedules are you taking into account? So yeah, give us some details on how
Oh,
it
you
needs
got
to
those
go.
Excel spreadsheets going on.
Yeah, man. Without giving away too much of, I guess my strategy, I do have an Excel spreadsheet or model, if you will. I type in the numbers, copy and paste it from the website,
And this is
ESPN
like
or
a few
whatever.
days before, like say just during the season, like this will be like a few days before you play the next person. Say like the Sunday night, the Monday night when you're playing the next person, you'll study their team and you'll chuck their numbers in.
Yeah, it depends on who I'm facing that week. If I know I'm going to win that week, regardless of what I do, I write that week off, and I don't care about winning. 7-0 to 4-3. A win's a win. I think that's how our league worked out. Now it's just that you win. So that actually worked to my advantage because winning the number of categories didn't matter anymore. So if I know I was going to win, and I forecasted I can win, I'll start studying the next opponent and start preparing for them essentially. And look at the schedules then. I'm like, okay, so who's looking good? And I start picking up some slots beforehand to prepare for that next week. But that's only if, like I said, if I'm not going to win. There have been some cases where that kind of backfired, where I might have screwed up a little bit and almost lost that week, and then I wasn't prepared for the next week. It does comes with its cost, but again, it depends on who you're playing. Sometimes you match up well against other teams better than others. Like Zach, I always beat him during the season, but come playoff, he always beats me, arguably.
Do you reckon you did make a mistake by using up all your matchups before Zach in that last matchup? I think
I don't think that was a mistake.
He took Mellow Ball at the end there, and you had no more moves.
He did. There was I don't regret it. I think it came down to picking Matisse Thybulle and someone else, and I ended up picking Matisse Thybulle, thinking I can get away with steals, and he didn't get his average. That hurt me, but I don't regret picking up those matchups because those matchups kind of allowed me to stay ahead going into the second week. Because I knew I had to stay ahead. After getting ahead of him on the first day, I knew I had to remain that lead. I basically remained that whole lead right up until the last day. I think going into the last day,
would you say that's a bad strategy? Because then Zach can work off his sluts and strategize against your team. You're saying, okay, he's ahead. There's these categories now. I'm just going to attack this one category that I need to get, or these categories next, where you're not flexible in that second week. Or would you say that your strategy, you just got unlucky? Because it sounds like that did back.
I think it's more unlucky.
Okay.
I think the strategy backfired on me personally, because if you look at his schedules on his main players, if you look at your main 6 players, his main 6 players were going to have more games than my 6 players. So I knew if I did in there, I need to find a slut that for 1 or 2 weeks has more. And Mars Bridges was my slut that ended up playing a lot of games, and he actually delivered quite good for those 2 weeks. He actually helped me, that slut. So that I got lucky in that sense, but also it was unlucky because in that last few days, Zach picked up a good slut, because Zach didn't end up using all his sluts, because by the time he got to the last day, he couldn't use up all his sluts because he had all of his players in and slots in, right? So he actually didn't use the full capacity of his slots. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember one of the slots he picked up, like 2 of them played freaking amazing. That pissed me off, obviously. But that's the whole point of the slot thing. I don't think I regret it, because you could argue that at the end of the day it was a tie, right? Then somewhere a steal got added to his.
What's your view?
Well, obviously,
there's no corrections. At the time, I looked at like some Reddit threads, and I was checking to see, like corrections. I was trying to find like how this has happened, and one of the suggestions was this one guy actually emailed ESPN to say, hey, there was this steal, how did it come about? And then ESPN replied to say, this is what happened. And so I was thinking maybe we could do that just to settle the case before the season starts, because there was no corrections for him to add a steal. I don't think he cheated, but it'd be interesting to see what happened, because at the end of the day, that was the championship game. It's like absolutely blasphemy that I didn't beat Kidder in the semi-finals because I had 2 weeks to prepare. I had my team locked and loaded, ready to go, and then I had Robert Williams and I can't remember someone else get injured, and so I was on like the first day. So then I was like screwed because had every single day planned out for the 2 weeks, and then I still should have smoked them, but then just some crazy things happened on the last day. Anthony Davis missed like 4 shots in a row to end the game, and I lost, and it was just like it was just crazy. But yeah, do you think emailing ESPN would get some closure to this, or do you think you just don't want to worry about a fix on this yet?
I mean, it's just nice to know, right? Because let's say hypothetically ESPN doesn't confirm it, then we just know that one, power's been abused, so that confirms everything that we have been discussing in the chat about Zach owning too much power. I'm actually on the same line as you, David. I don't think he cheated, but I think it's just nice to know because, bro, the conspiracy theorists and me, when it happened last year, or was it earlier this year, I swore, bro, that there was something going on. There's and the reason why I say that is because it's like Zach played along with it essentially, because like all of a sudden he's saying, "Oh yeah, I didn't know what happened. I lost," and then normally he's when it did happen, he would have like rubbed it in your face. So there's something just didn't sit right. I mean, I think about it. It's a championship game, man. I lost a ring because of a steal getting added, and no one knows to this day why or how.
The crazy thing is that ESPN posts corrections every night. So anytime there's a change at the end of the game, they'll say, "Hey, these are the corrections we made that day," and there was none for that day for his team. There wasn't even a steal for his team, any correction steals. Then I went through every single day those 2 weeks, and there was no corrections for him on his team adding a steal. Maybe it does. If it doesn't sit right with you, I can email them and we can do an exclusive read of their reply. But I'm happy to do that.
That'd be great.
Episode.
Yeah,
that'll be a KFBL media. I appreciate it so much. I'll endorse all you guys on there, and I'll share my earnings and winnings.
Do you have do we have any other topics or anything you want to discuss, or do you have any questions for us, Baby J, or any other comments you want to leave before heading into the season? I mean, you've been the top. Some people consider you the greatest fantasy basketball player in our league. Do you consider yourself that? Is it Zach?
Will you and Zach go into the Hall of Fame in the same year, or you reckon you got a shot at being the first KFBL Hall of Famer outright?
I think now that Zach's got his official ring, I think for sure if let's say that steal didn't get added,
You've
I would have won, right?
You've never missed a playoff, so and Zach
Never
has missed the playoffs.
No. Zach's missed the playoffs. That's right.
Zach's been
last year, I believe.
Wasn't he last year?
It was like
2 years ago.
Yeah, the real injured team.
So yeah, if you look at my record, playoffs every year, championship, always in the top 4. So I've actually always passed the first round as well, might I add. I did that even 2 years ago when I traded those 2 players, was it Beal and Drew Holiday for Kemba Walker against Zach. That was silly, yes.
Stacked teams. I don't know how it just ends up being, you just have like a ridiculous team. Last year your team was ridiculous. But yeah, anyway, continue. So you say,
yeah, well, to add on
that
that
other one that other time, Baby J, where you did that Horford trade and then you dropped him. That was questionable.
No, that was my mistake for trusting someone's word and not getting it down on paper. So my idea was not to get Horford, but was to include Horford in another package deal to get someone else.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen with the other person. So I didn't want Horford. So I knew that it was a waste. I've given someone away. So I just dropped his ass. But it was tactful as well to make people think that I don't know what I'm doing. So they're going to ease up on me as well. Because a lot of people in this league don't see me as a fit, despite, the rings and my record. So knowing that, it distracts them the fact that, oh, this is so unorthodox. This guy's meant to be real good, but he's dropping all for it after he just traded a good player for him. So it gets people thinking not to worry about this dude. Don't stress too much energy and investing in this guy. Next thing you know, I'm in the playoffs again, beating them.
Yeah.
So a bit of it.
There'd be a fool to not be watching out for you, BBJ. You're always there and thereabouts. You'll be putting in that work. You're crunching those numbers more than anyone. So
yeah,
I think,
thank you, man. I mean,
I think I got to wrap it up here.
I think we got all our topics out there.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Shot, baby J.
Hope you're well.
thanks everyone.
Hope you
Hope
get
you
to
guys
level
keeping
4.
safe. Yeah. Thank you.
How are the little ones?
Good. I just heard one of them crying, but I'll get to it later.
Yeah.
Hi, Ruby.
Got more important things. AJ
Got
said
more
hi.
important things. Hi. How old are you now? She's
Yeah.
3 now?
He asked how old are you? How old are you, Ruby?
2.
What? No, you're not.
3.
3. Yeah.
3. That's right. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Sweet.
Thanks, everyone.
boys.
Thanks for having me on the episode. Appreciate it.
Shot, baby J.
Looking forward to the draft.
Yeah.
See you
Thanks again, guys. Thanks for having me. See you later.
later.
Why can't everything be alright?